The 1948 war ended with a ceasefire, but no peace treaties between the Arab states and Israel. Israel set about the task of establishing itself as a new country. In Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser rose to power. He wanted to modernize Egypt and embraced pan-Arab nationalism. Like other Arab countries, Egypt refused to recognize Israel's statehood. In 1956, Nasser briefly closed the Straits of Tiran, blocking Israeli ships from access to the Red Sea, Africa, and Asia. In 1964, the Arab League helped organize the Palestine Liberation Organization, or PLO. It was founded to regain what Palestinian Arabs considered to be their land through armed struggle. In 1969, Yasser Arafat would become its leader. When Nasser repeated his blockade of the Straits of Tiran in 1967, Israel and the international community viewed this as an act of war. Nasser's plan was to use this moment to attack Israel. The armies of Egypt, Jordan, and Syria mobilized on Israel's borders. Seeing signs it was about to be attacked, Israel launched a preemptive strike. It became known as the Six-Day War. Israel captured the Sinai Peninsula and Gaza from Egypt, the Golan Heights from Syria, and the West Bank and East Jerusalem from Jordan, which had annexed them after the 1948 war. For Jewish Israelis, the capture of East Jerusalem meant that they could finally access their holiest sites, like the Western Wall. But for the Palestinian Arabs, this war was another blow. They still did not control their own fate. Many continued living as refugees in Arab countries or in the West Bank and Gaza, now under Israeli control. A few weeks after the war, Israel offered to give back the Golan Heights and Sinai Peninsula in exchange for peace with Syria and Egypt. However, a few months later, members of the Arab League gathered in Khartoum. They wrote a resolution now known as the Three No's. No peace with Israel, no recognition of Israel, no negotiations with Israel. On November 22, 1967, the UN Security Council unanimously adopted Resolution 242. Both Israel and the Arab countries agreed to its key terms, ensuring peace, security, land, and the treatment of refugees. It became the basis for what became known as the Land for Peace formula. Instead, Egypt engaged in a 3-year war of attrition. This included large-scale shelling along the Suez Canal, aerial warfare, and commando raids against Israel. During this time, Israel built the first few settlements in the West Bank in locations chosen for their strategic security value. The number of settlements remained sparse until the late 1970s. They would become a major issue in later negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians. In October 1973, on the holiest day of the Jewish calendar, Yom Kippur, Egypt, led by President Anwar Sadat, and Syria, led by President Hafez al-Assad, attacked Israel again. Most of the fighting took place in the Golan Heights and the Sinai Peninsula. 19 days later, after Israel pushed back following early losses, a ceasefire was reached. The war claimed a lot of lives and had a sobering effect. Both sides now understood that military power was no guarantee of victory or security. 4 years later, Egypt's President Sadat shocked the world. The leader who attacked Israel in 1973 flew to Jerusalem, met with Israel's Prime Minister Menachem Begin, and spoke to Israel's parliament, proclaiming no more war. In 1978, Sadat and Begin met with President Jimmy Carter at Camp David, Maryland. Their negotiations led to a peace treaty signed in 1979. Egypt recognized Israel's right to exist, and Israel returned the Sinai Peninsula to Egyptian control, dismantling Israeli settlements there and moving Israeli families back to Israel. It was an exchange of land for peace. Will the other Arab countries follow Egypt's lead? We'll discuss that next time.